to Biggest Little Victory. This is Stephen.
And Pastor Kendra. And joining us today is a special guest, Miss Sam.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I remember do you remember the early days when we couldn't get anyone on this podcast?
Now we have to go to people and be like, you want to come on? Yeah, you want to come on? Okay. All right, cool. We're becoming a lot more aggressive.
We've gotten a lot better at it.
Yeah.
For sure. We've gotten a lot better at recruiting.
Yeah,
it's
we
great.
put bags over people's heads and kidnap them and
they just wake
bring
up
them in. They wake up in a Harry Potter room.
Best kidnapping ever.
I'd be quite confused myself. All right, well, we're going to break down the most recent sermon from this week, which was Pictures, Hebrews Pictures. And if you missed that, then please go check that out on YouTube. You can also check it out on any podcasting app. But if you go check it on YouTube, you can also see the pictures that he references. The podcast version just kind of skips right ahead to the sermon. So if you want to get the full experience, go to YouTube and watch the video. Definitely check that out before you finish watching or listening to this, because again, why are you listening to this first? Unless you like to read your books backwards, then maybe you're the kind of person who would listen to this first. But we're going to go over that in just a second.
Pictures weren't as funny as he thought they were. So
no.
It's fine.
That's good. I love that you said that. That's fantastic. Okay, so we're going to go into that. But first, Kendra, what is coming up in the VCF world?
Not much different from last week. Just make sure you give us a follow on Facebook at Victory Christian Fellowship. That's where we post pretty much all of the news that is going on at the church, service times, worship playlists, all that stuff. And then you hop on over to VCF Family on Facebook, and that's where all the prayer requests and the funny Jesus memes are posted. Follow us on Instagram at VCF Reno. Follow us on YouTube at VCF Reno. And follow us on Twitter at BLV Podcast, which I haven't even checked. So, but I would imagine that not much has happened. So
You said on the last episode, you're just like, the one I refuse to give up on.
I know. I haven't checked it in like a week though. That's it for social media, but we are back to 2 services. We have been for the last month, so I don't know why I keep saying back. So 9:30 a.m. and 11 o'clock a.m. Join us every Sunday morning for worship and a wonderful message. Please make sure you have your masks, as those are still mandatory per the governor. So you should have one of those by now. I mean, if you don't, then you've been living under a rock, so make sure you bring it.
That was underneath another rock.
Yeah, right. Right.
Far deep down the rabbit hole.
Extra quarantined.
Yes. And Celebrate Recovery is starting, which we are really excited for. On August 9th, after both services, Christina Deming, the leader of Celebrate Recovery, is having a leadership meeting. If you are interested in being part of leadership or just being part of Celebrate Recovery, make sure you hit her up for one of those meetings, because I'm sure it is going to be fantastic. Unfortunately, I have too much on my plate, and if I bit off any more, I would choke. So I really want to be a part of it, but I can't. So but everybody else is going to have a good time. I plan on at least going to testimony night, so it'll be good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the tech team.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we are looking for tech team volunteers. If you are a member of the church and have interest in the technology side of what we do, make sure you reach out to one of us. Or if you just happen to be listening to this and you're not a member of a church and you know someone, or you yourself are interested in learning the ins and outs of technology when it comes to cameras, sound, lights, everything that makes it so we can be live, all that fun stuff, the technology side of it. If you are interested, please reach out to Pastor David or myself. We are in serious need of tech people, because someone is leaving us. So
how dare he?
And he is the most techie of us all. So I have 3 weeks to learn all of his tricks. So, but that is it. Yes, please let us know if you want to be part of the tech team, because that would be nice.
If only we could just download all of his information in his brain and then just access that.
Yeah. Do you have a USB port?
They're working on that, They're coming up with a way to read thoughts, to read minds, but that's still in the realm of science fiction at this point. But who knows? Maybe in 50 years they'll caught up and
nobody wants to be in my mind.
Who knows?
It's just like constant screamo music.
There are a lot of people who would enjoy that, actually.
Probably.
So.
Probably.
I think that's better than my mind. Constant country music.
Country music's good too, though.
That's all I listen to at work.
Yep.
There you go. So we've got you got all kinds of music.
Yep.
You guys are just
It's like
thinking
an
about
iPod
music.
Shuffle.
Yeah. My mind is the absolute opposite. I'm not thinking about music at all. It's like the most random, sparse thoughts. It's like film ideas, movie plans.
Yeah. That's creative. That's the creative in you.
It's also just random conversations that I need to have or that I have
I
had.
practice conversations too. I practice conversations
I
a
do
lot. Yeah.
Yep. I definitely do that.
Yeah. I say it out loud. Like thank God Bluetooth car phones are a thing, so people don't think I'm just talking to myself, which is what I am actually doing. But they probably just think I'm talking to somebody on the phone.
That's awesome. All right. So why don't you go ahead and kick us off with a nice feel-good story?
Alrighty. This one is called Mobile Library Gets Rural Kids Reading. As a teacher in a primary school in rural Italy, Antonio Lacava was worried about his young people's growing lack of interest in reading books. His response was to transform a three-wheeled van into a mobile library. Now 73, he has spent nearly 20 years driving his Biblio Motocaro to bring books to children in the remote villages and communities of the Basilicata, a region in Italy's far south. I was worried about growing old in a country of non-readers, he says. Without a book, so often a child is alone. La Cava chose a Piaggio Ape van for its humble, homely associations, giving it a house-like roof. As soon as you see it, it puts you in a good mood. It's so true. He says, it suggests the idea of a refuge of relaxation, which is what every book offers. Besides the library, La Cava also runs creative writing workshops and shows short films inspired by books, all of which underpins his belief that books and culture, as he puts it, are made by and for everyone, not just a privileged few.
So cool.
That is cool.
I love that. I really enjoy the fact that almost every one of your stories has been not in the United States.
Yeah, that's
and so it's like
the United States is in shambles.
Every single week, you've just been like, these are going to be names that I'm going to mess up. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
It's totally fine. It's great though, just hearing about.
Look at the van.
Oh,
my gosh,
man,
I
you
love
guys
that
can't
it
see
actually
this,
has
but
a house roof.
there's a. You know what? Maybe I can probably get that. If you send me that link,
I'll screenshot it.
yeah, and then I can make that like the artwork for the episode. For this episode. That way everyone can see it. Yeah, that's cute. That's adorable. I didn't know they make cars like that. That's awesome.
Well, Italy is full of
Creativity.
fun little.
You can also
little tiny
refurbish
vehicles.
cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People do that all the time. There's the whole hashtag called van life where people are just taking vans and converting them and living in them.
I have a friend that just did that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Actually, I've been interested
I
in it.
couldn't do it. I have way too much stuff.
Yeah, see, that's more the thing that I could probably do a lot quicker than you could.
I feel like I'd struggle with the construction of it.
Yeah.
You can get people to build it for you.
Well, that and having to use
but what
public
fun is
restrooms
that?
all the time.
Yeah, no.
You just get a portable one and dump it at a Blackwater site, and there's a whole thing. There's all kinds of podcasts. If you want to check out van life, there's some van life podcasts out there for you. Check them out. There are plenty of people who are doing this even now, even amongst the pandemic. There are still people who are living in their vans and loving it. So there you go. There's my plug for the van life world. Now back on to Hebrews. We're going to be going through chapter 10 verses 1 through 18, and again, I'll be reading this out of NCV, the Kendra's favorite version. She criticized me so lovingly for last week. I'm just going to keep rolling with it because it seems to have the most funniest ways of explaining the scripture. I don't know why that's the case, but if you want to like to follow along, go on ahead and do that, or otherwise sit back and listen, and then we'll be back with you in just a second. The law is only an unclear picture of the good things coming in the future. It is not the real thing. The people under the law offer the same sacrifices every year, but these sacrifices can never make perfect those who come near to worship God. If the law could make them perfect, the sacrifices would have already stopped. The worshipers would be made clean, and they would no longer have a sense of sin. But these sacrifices remind them of their sins every year, because it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. So when Christ came into the world, he said, 'You do not want sacrifices and offerings, but you have prepared a body for me. You do not ask for burnt offerings and offerings to take away sins.' Then I said, 'Look, I have come. It is written about me in the book. God, I have come to do what you want.' In this scripture, he first said, 'You do not want sacrifices and offerings. You do not ask for burnt offerings and offerings to take away sins. These are all sacrifices that the law commands.' Then he said, 'Look, I have come to do what you want.' God ends the first system of sacrifices so he can set up the new system. And because of this, we are made holy through the sacrifice Christ made in his body once and for all time. Every day the priests stand and do the religious service, often offering the same sacrifices. Those sacrifices can never take away sins. But after Christ offered one sacrifice for sins forever, he sat down at the right side of God. And now Christ waits there for his enemies to be put under his power. With one sacrifice, he made perfect forever those who are being made holy. The Holy Spirit also tells us about this. First, he says, 'This is the agreement I will make with them at that time, says the Lord. I will put my teachings in their hearts and write them on their minds.' Then he says, 'Their sins and the evil things they do, I will not remember anymore. Now when these have been forgiven, there is no more need for a sacrifice for sins.'" So last week, which actually will be yesterday in terms of when the podcast actually got uploaded, but last week when we were discussing it, you were talking about like he sits.
Okay. And it's so funny because when Pastor David said that, I was like looking around for Emma and you. I was like, he sits.
I was thinking about you when we said that too.
Yeah, but I didn't stick around for the second service, and that's where you and Emma were.
No, I didn't either. I was gone too.
I missed both of you during second service.
Yeah, no,
We'd already been there for first service, and we're like, all right,
yeah,
time to go. But yeah, we got the three camera angles set up, and that was an ordeal.
Yeah.
So
I saw that you guys had
people, we need tech people.
Yep, tech people, help. Especially since I can't reach the dang cameras on the step stool. I had to get out a ladder in the middle of the service.
Wait, even on the step stool you can't?
Yeah, no, they're pretty high up.
They're pretty high up.
Yeah, even for me, I have to reach.
I don't even know how Dad did it. Like he's not that tall.
No.
He's got his own special step stool just for him.
Like this is mine,
Pastor David. I mean, sometimes you have to do that. You have to like label scissors because people take things around offices. I know how it is. People take pens. They take scissors. They're always gone.
Yeah. Every time my boss uses my pen, I make sure that she gives it back before she leaves the office.
That's why I just don't have a certain pen.
Yeah.
I got two sitting on my desk, and if they go missing, they go missing. I then go to someone else and be like, "Hey, pen, please.
Yeah.
Right.
I need to sign the papers."
Yep. So one of the biggest things that I caught from this was when he was talking about the picture of the law and the picture of. Yeah, I love that you said that his pictures weren't that funny.
They weren't. I was expecting because honestly, when he asked you to put them on, I was like, oh my gosh, there's an embarrassing picture of me in there. Oh my gosh, he's going to embarrass me because he likes to do that.
That's true.
And I was so happy to see that there were no embarrassing pictures of me.
Okay, he can't heckle you though. Like he knows that, right? He can't heckle you on the Sunday that you're speaking, right?
He's going to.
No.
You know he's going to. It's fine. That's what happens when you get too smart butts. Almost slipped up just there.
Well done. Well, nice save. So anyway, like I was trying to say, there's my mind. There you go.
Yep.
Ping pong.
Yep.
So the picture of the law is only made complete when the sacrifice of Jesus is included. So it's kind of, we touched on it last time, and it was talking just about the law, the first covenant was just kind of there to show us the fact that we were never going to be made perfect by it. No matter how much you tried to follow it, no matter how much you tried to do it exactly right, you just never were going to be made perfect under the old covenant. And that was the whole reason for Jesus coming, was to show you you can't do this. The blood of bulls and goats is not going to take away your sins. You're still going to be a sinful person even after that. I also
never want to hear my dad say sexy heifer ever again.
Yeah, I cringed.
just, when he said that, oh gosh.
I actually don't even remember that.
Yeah, he's like, that bull over there is going to go talk to that sexy heifer because you don't need to sacrifice him anymore. I'm like, oh, you just said sexy heifer. On stage.
On stage for all to hear for all time.
Anyway, go on.
I don't remember that. That's hilarious. Wow. I missed that entirely. Thank goodness.
He changed that up for second service.
Yeah.
What do you say for second service?
Not that.
There you go.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of the older people in the first service, so they were probably like, you shouldn't say sexy heifer. I don't blame them.
I feel like there's like
Not
next
okay.
to no one in the second service. There's like probably 15 people.
I think that it'll get better once summer ends. I think everybo's just out enjoying the weather.
Out enjoying the weather.
That and
still
everybody's-
pandemic.
Yeah, still a pandemic.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Tis what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of what I caught. What did let's ask Sam, what was something that you caught out of David's sermon on Sunday? Aside from sexy heifers.
From the opening, he said that sometimes we hang on to the pictures but let go of the substance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like in life, people tend to just like, oh yeah, that happened, but I didn't take anything away from it. And it's important to like apply that to the Bible and actually take things away from the Bible and from church and everything else that we do as Christians, instead of just like, oh yeah, that happened. Okay, bye.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, and I think that happens a lot with people who speak too. You know, you give a sermon and then the week later someone's like, oh, I missed it. What was it about? And then everyone's kind of just like, you know,
that
it's
one
just that.
thing
Yeah, they're
that
just
came
that
out of their
blank.
mouth.
Uh-huh.
That's why you take notes.
That's why you take notes. Yep. There's no way I'd ever be able to remember just
Slowly learning how to
but
take
I mean,
better
even
notes.
sometimes my notes, I'm like, what is he talking about? What am I talking about? What is this?
who wrote this.
My handwriting, because I write it on my phone because I don't actually have like a book on me
Mhm.
with me. I'm struggling to read some of this.
Grab one of the Bibles that the church provides.
Yeah.
You don't want to like put the paper on it and then write on the Bible. I feel like
Then take the Bible home.
I have
Or get a
I
notebook.
have Bibles. I'm thinking about investing in a church Bible or church notebook.
Mhm.
Yeah, just get a notebook. They're cheap. You can just get a cheap old notebook from Walmart and
Yeah.
that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah. Or Walgreens has really nice ones.
Gotta
But
be
anyway,
cute.
that could be a conversation for later.
I know. let us talk about notebooks and where you can find the best notebooks for journaling. I like that too, that we often miss a lot of what's being said, and sometimes we can hear it 1,000 times and we still miss the meaning because
It's like my husband.
yeah, I'm not going to comment on that. So I'll just say I've done that too. So
I think it's a man thing.
I've been guilty of
No,
that.
actually, it's a person thing.
It's a
Do it
person
too,
thing.
yeah.
So I've noticed that, you know, that it's a lot of times we hear it so much that we mistake knowing what's the way to phrase this, like being able to repeat it versus actually having it internalized. Like, oh, I can repeat the right answer. I know what the right answer is.
But are you actually absorbing?
But yeah.
It's also
But am I
like
actually
hearing
living
versus comprehension,
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
and that's important in every aspect
Yeah.
of life.
Listening versus hearing.
Bible app is great at that. They have literally studies on every single verse of the Bible. It's incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot of devotionals in just the Bible app alone.
Yeah.
So if you're new to the Bible and you're wondering where to get started, downloading the Bible app, it's free. And a lot of the devotions on there have at least free samples, if not an entire devotion. That's just all free. And it's just questions. You can just type in questions, type in topics, and there's probably something there.
Yeah, because trust me, the questions you have been asked before, especially about the Bible.
Yeah.
My boyfriend and I decided that we were going to start at the very beginning of the Bible and go 5 chapters every single day and do it that way. Well,
Wow.
I mean, we do it like 3 times a week, but
Yeah.
we're halfway through Genesis.
Nice.
And we
There you
started, a week and a half ago?
That's an interesting way to do it.
It is going to get very fun when you
Yes.
get past, I think it's Exodus 17.
Yeah.
Is when it starts to get real repetitive.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and all the names.
All the names,
The names.
and
all
Pastor
of the
David
descendants of these
actually said
people.
repetition is important.
It is.
so
It is,
Well,
and that's
you
that's what'll make you absorb.
will know how to
Yeah.
build your own tabernacle. by the
Right.
time-
Yeah. Yeah. But also read or listen to the story.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do it too. But anyway, also also off topic.
Hey, At least it was Bible related.
Yes.
It wasn't just randomly about notebooks.
Yes.
So, Kendra, what about you? What was something you gleaned from the lesson?
That God doesn't want our sacrificial bulls. He wants us.
Yeah. You can almost
I wrote down the same thing as you.
Expanded word. He doesn't want our sacrificial bull.
Yes. Yes. That too. Bull honky.
Bull honky. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, it's when Jesus, the reason why Jesus came, part of the reason, not the reason, was to be the ultimate sacrifice, so we wouldn't have to do sacrifices anymore. So we wouldn't have to sacrifice anything. God sacrificed his son, which is like beyond comprehension to me. I don't even have children, and even just my cats and my dog, I'm like, I would never.
Right. Yeah.
I would never sacrifice them, but I'm not God.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly.
So that's one of my imperfections, but it's crazy to think that, one of the reasons why he sent Christ down was, one, to be a physical representation of himself, and also to make it so you don't have to kill these animals anymore or kill your son or anything, because he's giving the ultimate sacrifice for us. And the reason why he did that was because he wants us to be a part of him. And that's the ultimate, I think that's the ultimate takeaway, is that that's it. That's all he wants. He wants you. And Pastor David also said, the commandments are impossible to perfect. But God knows this. Right. God knows that there's no way that you can perfect the 10 commandments. There's no way. There are a few that are easy. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Love God with your entire heart. All that stuff. But it's hard not to envy. Right. It's hard not to let a cuss word slip every once in a while. It's definitely very easy not to murder. So,
hopefully it is. Yeah.
For most, if not, you should be seeking professional help. But yeah, so it's just important, because the class that I just took, it was exploring Christian holiness, and we talked a lot about Christian perfection. And when you hear about Christian perfection and you hear that word Christian perfection, you're like, so I'm supposed to be perfect? No. You're supposed to strive to be perfect. You're supposed to continue your walk on your journey, and you don't ever experience Christian perfection until it's your day to be in the throne room. And that's important to remember, because nobody's perfect. Even the most seasoned Nazarene in our church is not perfect. But it's there's everything from saying something that you're going to do and you don't do it. Yeah. That's just human nature.
I think idol worship's probably one of the biggest ones that everyone struggles with, because it's not necessarily anymore. It's not bowing down to a figure of stone or wood. It's just whatever you're putting in front of God is idol worship. So I think that's probably the hardest one, especially in United States culture, with the American dream the way it is and what we're supposed to be pursuing. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, but it's important to remember that it's a lifelong journey. Yeah. It is always a forward walk. Sometimes you may take steps backwards, but as long as you continue to strive to walk forward, you'll be just fine.
Yeah, to try to continue to grow closer to God and not away. Right. Because it's so easy to let things in your life push you further away from God, and you're like, nope, I'm going to go closer and closer and closer till I pop this bubble.
Right. Every day is a step closer. Every day is a step closer. And that sounds ominous, but it's not. It's actually very beautiful if you think about it in a way that we do. Right. We know where our souls are going. And I also know that I'm not perfect. I also know that I will never be perfect until that day. I will not have perfect skin. I will not have a perfect mouth. I will not have perfect teeth. I will not have a perfect soul until that day. And it's hard to remember that, especially when you hear crazy things like Christian perfection or entire sanctification, which is also a scary word.
That is very scary. Yeah. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. So
it's a word most people don't even know what the definition is. Right. And just the idea of entire sanctification, that you are entirely set apart to God, that nothing else is in your life, nothing else is in the way, there's no sins, there's no impurities. It's like, that doesn't happen. Right. There's always going to be something.
He's also aware of the world right now. Yeah. It's impossible to not sin when you have the world at your fingertips, literally. Yeah. You could Google anything. And if you Google something really terrible, you're put on a watch list, but you're also put on God's watch list.
Right.
So it's not just the FBI. God's watching too. But I think it's just important to remember that not every single Christian, even the most devout evangelical people that you come in contact with, are perfect.
Everyone struggles. Mm-hmm. You are not alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And stop sacrificing animals.
Yeah.
If you're still doing that at this point, you have really missed the mark.
I mean, there are other religions that do it. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and more power to them.
I'm personally glad that we don't have to raise farm animals just to kill.
Yep.
We can raise them to eat them. Sometimes. Sometimes.
Yeah. Just lost all our vegan audience. So.
Right. That's okay. I don't think that the 7 of them that listen, there's probably maybe 1 vegan.
Our audience size, I looked today, it said 12 now.
12?
Yeah.
Wow.
Our average audience size is now 12.
I'm there.
We're in Austria too. I saw a view in Austria. Yeah. So.
Welcome, Austria.
Welcome, Austria. Yeah. See, that just makes me feel bad that I don't know other languages. Like, so many other languages around the world know English. I don't know theirs. Like, I can't speak Austrian.
That's because we're a dumb country.
Yeah, no, there may be points along the way, in your faith. There may be points that you can say, this is when I accepted Jesus. This is when I recommitted my life. Here's when I got baptized, right? You can point to specific events, and that's great. And they're milestones, you use them as mile markers. Mm-hmm. But by no means is it just, well, when was the actual point that you became completely perfect as a person? Because you're never going to be able to point to that.
The point that you died.
Yeah. The point that you died and became completely justified before God in heaven.
Right.
Yeah.
Which means that you will never be able to tell that tale.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It'll only be to God himself.
Right.
And it is a continual journey.
And if you think you're perfect, then you're sinning in vanity.
I love the truth bombs just coming down. It's good.
Some people need truth bombs at some points in their lives.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. And so actually this led perfectly right into what I wrote down too is, while the work of sacrifice is complete, the work of becoming more like Jesus is constant. The more you become like the image of Jesus, the more you become like his character and showing that to the world.
I don't think I'd look good with a beard.
It's constant. Yeah, it's not a physical thing. So, I mean, if you want to try the beard thing, you go for it.
See how your husband feels about that.
I'm sure he'd really enjoy that.
Right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. Go ahead. It's like when I peaked at 16.
That's awesome.
Gosh.
Oh man. Yeah.
Up.
It's the work of sacrifice is done. Jesus did it. It's once and for all. He doesn't have to come back again. I think it was either the last week or the week before where I said that someone had mentioned on a comment that, Jesus owes us another crucifixion. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, no. What? That doesn't even make sense. That's not even at all. Like,
he didn't even owe you the first one.
No, exactly. And so it's like, that's a complete misunderstanding of what he did. And the fact that, it's done. He doesn't have to come back. And the next time that he does, that's it. Curtains close and the author of the play walks on stage. So that's, at that point, that's a whole different ball game. And everything that we've gotten used to here and everything that we've liked about here is just a shadow of what's to come. And that was kind of another big point of the picture of things, is that it's just a shadow of the good things to come. So everything that you've enjoyed about here is just, it's microscopic compared to what it's going to be like being in his presence and the kind of things that we're going to have. Yeah. I mean, someone compared it like if you're looking up at the sky at night and seeing all the stars, like all those stars are just holes in the curtain of heaven that you're just getting this little glimmer, this little peek, a little.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
A little glimpse into what it actually is, but you don't actually get to see really anything of it until you're on the other side.
Well, and the stars you're looking at are probably dead anyway.
Most likely. Yeah. Yeah, with a few exceptions, but most likely, yeah. They've long since burned out, which is the weirdest thing to
stars
conceive.
Are strange.
That
stars are strange.
you're essentially looking into a time machine when you're looking at the stars at night.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Just stop blowing my mind, guys.
You want one more space fact that's going to blow your mind? Here you go. If you were to be standing on Pluto, okay, I know it's not a planet anymore, but whatever. If you were to be standing on Pluto, so let's say if you were to walk outside and just wave up at the sky, and then if you could just teleport yourself to Pluto in 5 hours, you would see yourself waving up at the sky.
Wait, what?
Because it takes 5 hours for light from Earth to reach Pluto. So you could see yourself. Of course, that, like I said, you have to teleport. You have to get there really quick.
You'd also have to have really great eyes.
Yeah.
You can get a telescope. You can do it.
A telescope.
really powerful telescope. Yeah. You can get a satellite with you, a little probe view, but you can see yourself waving.
And I still believe that Pluto's a planet, so
yeah, I agree.
NASA
in my heart, it will always be a planet.
Well, it wasn't NASA, it was what is it? It's like the International Astronauts something. I don't remember. There's a whole thing.
They can fight me then.
They'll be the next guest on next week's podcast.
Come at me.
Oh man, so actually that was all that I pulled. I was just so caught up in just the heart of the issue, the heart of like what it means to understand what Jesus has done for us and understand what it means to just stop spinning your wheels. That's kind of where I was just focusing on. So much of it was just thinking about how all the times in my life where I have just been spinning my wheels and doing the same thing over and over and then wondering why I'm still not getting any closer to God because, I'm still trying to essentially sacrifice.
Right.
I'm not killing animals, but I'm still
sacrifice time, mind space, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even just my attention on what I was sacrificing wasn't fully there, so it wasn't actually on like Jesus and wasn't actually on becoming more like Christ. It was just, I just want to be free of sin. And that I would say it's more like cause and effect. Because you focus on Christ, then you're free of sin. Not I want to be free of sin,
so therefore I'm going to focus.
But then you don't have anything to go towards. You're focusing on the symptom, but not the actual like cure. And I think that's what I was doing for a long time.
Right. Well, so that's funny because I wrote down here, you don't have to put in this effort anymore. God's got us. Doesn't mean not try, but at everything. But that's funny that you say that because I was in one of my textbooks, John Wesley says that as love is at the core of all you do, regardless of if it's this podcast or giving a sermon or helping somebody on the street or saying hi to a stranger, as long as love is at the core, you're doing God's work, and that's all he needs. That's all he wants, is that you should be loving as he loves, and ultimately that's it. It's as easy as that. Love your neighbor, love yourself, love that stranger on the street, even love that homeless person who may be talking to himself. Just shoot some love at him. You guys can't see me, but I'm shooting beams of love. That's what I've been focusing on, and of course there's obviously more to it. It's not just love, but they say it in scripture, love God with your entire mind, your soul, your heart, everything. Mm-hmm. So that's what should be at the core is love. And I love that it's love. Yeah. Because I am a lover. I'm not a hugger, but I'm a lover. Like I love you, but
we'll convert you to hug soon. Huh? We'll convert you to hug soon.
Yeah, my husband couldn't do that, and it's been 10 years. So I'm just not a toucher. I like my personal space. Like I hug people that I know already, but I'm not gonna hug a stranger. Oh, like my husband would hug somebody in the line behind us in the grocery store, and I'm just like, the 6 feet rule, keep it forever.
This is actually a perfect bubble. Yes. I love that they came up with this distance.
Yes, exactly. It's so funny because the other day I had this woman at the grocery store who she was like tailgating me all the way into the parking lot, and I pull into the parking lot, and there is so many open spaces that I just decided to ignore her. Instead, she pulls up right next to me, and I just sat there and I'm thinking, what's up? Like, do you know me? Or did I make you angry on the road? Like, what did I do here?
Out of all these places, why do you sit next to me?
Well, so she didn't. It wasn't me. She's just being herself, which is fine. But she gets out of the car, and she walks into the grocery store, and she doesn't have a mask on.
Oh no!
And I understand, like I said a couple weeks ago, nobody is going around saying, I am so excited that I get to wear my mask today. That's not, nobody is stoked that we have to wear masks everywhere we go.
Right.
Nobody. But you wear it for the respect of yourself and the respect of people around you. Okay? If you don't have a mask on, that's your own free will, but people have their own free will to not serve you if that's the case.
Also, just everyone just wants this all to be over and everything to return back to normal. So if you wear a mask, even though we all hate it, and I personally can't breathe, just wear them.
Do your part.
You do it now, you won't have to do it for a year later.
Right. Well, nobody in the grocery store said anything to her, but we go into the produce section. I don't see her again. I go back to the produce section because I needed limes. She's still in the produce section. I don't know what she was buying, whatever. So she's still in the produce section. And as I'm walking to the checkout line, I can just feel her presence like right behind me.
Oh, I hate that.
And like I said, even if there weren't a pandemic going on, I like my personal space.
Yeah.
So I feel her right behind me, and so there's those markers on the floor that say, stay 6 feet back from the person in front of you. So I'm standing on my marker, and where my marker happens to be, just it's just like in one of those refrigerators and checkout lines where they keep sodas and stuff. She like brushes against me, gets into the refrigerator and gets a soda, and then stands like 3 inches away from me.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm just sitting here like, please do not talk to me. Please do not, because not a talker to strangers.
Yeah.
Not a talker really that much. Unless I know you. Not a hugger. I like my personal space, but I can just feel her. And then next thing, I'm just looking forward. Next thing you know, I feel her breath on my neck.
What?
No.
And
what is she doing?
She's whispering in my ear, telling me that she likes my outfit.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so I step back and I'm like, thank you, but can you please take a few steps back? And for a moment, I was like angry. I almost like went off on her.
Yeah.
Like that wouldn't be okay during any time.
That's what I said. It was like,
even during a pandemic, that's even worse.
It's
she
really
didn't have a mask on. She wasn't doing anything.
She whispered in your ear.
She whispered in my ear. At least it was a woman. Like, I will say that. At least it was a woman.
Yeah.
But still, it was just like, okay, thanks, but back up.
Yeah,
you could have said that 3 feet away from me at
6
least.
feet away. Yeah.
But I still think about that. I still think about that to this day, about how, like, this woman, I judged her hard. Because it's like, hello, you're not the only human being on this planet here.
Yeah.
It's just, do your part. But also, I thought about that for a couple hours afterwards, about how she just had zero disregard for the people around her, zero disregard for all of this. And I got angry and I got mad. And then I sat and I talked to God for a second. And the second that I spoke to God, I felt immediate relief, because I harbored this resentment towards this woman. And then I was just like, why?
Yeah, I was about to say, just like pray about it.
Right. I didn't really pray for her. I probably should, but I prayed for peace because I needed it. Because seriously, everything that's been going on, it's just like one little topple and I'm going to snap. And I'm scared for the people the vets almost got it today. Oh. No. But it's the way I ground myself is by talking to God. And by loving those people who are doing me wrong, even though they don't even realize that they're doing me wrong. It's just complete disregard, complete everything. As long as I just like center myself back in the love that I should have for all of God's creatures. That's what gets me by. That's what gets me from not snapping on the vet today, from not snapping on that woman who whispered in my ear. It's just, you have to focus on that one core. If you're going to focus on anything, focus on God's love and try to love as God loves.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do that a lot more recently, because in the past, my normal day thing would be like, oh, I have all these thoughts and all these emotions, and I'm not going to let them out. I'm going to bottle them up. And then, that bottle just explodes from all the pressure that's in it. And then the wrong person gets the full explosion. And recently I've started like reading the Bible and going through the Bible, because I've never actually read the full Bible. And I found myself praying to God more and talking about God more, and just putting God more in the center of my life than on the far northwest outskirt of my life, and holding him close and letting him anchor me in everything that I do. And I actually had a discussion I got preached to at work on the first day of meeting a new coworker, and I was nice in the conversation, and then the next day, because I had a meltdown at night, the next day I went up to him and I was like, look, you're a great guy. I like talking to you, but can we not talk about Christ? Because I feel like you are preaching to me, and I can't move my desk. And he's like, all right, I get it. I won't preach to you, but can I talk about, my Sunday, or like what I do on Sundays? And I was like, yes, that's okay, because that's not you sitting there preaching to me that I'm bad for having tattoos.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, really? That was the conversation?
That was one of them. And then anytime the conversation went away from the Bible and God and how the end of the world is coming, it would go back to that.
Right.
And I was just like, oh gosh, I can't swim away fast enough.
Yeah, no, that's tough. That's tough. But he means well.
Yeah.
You just got to remember that. He didn't,
I pray for him. And
yeah, some people don't realize that sometimes what they say is hurtful. Even if they do mean, and even if they, say things that they're trying to help you. There's I have a friend who struggles with being alone. And she hops from man to man if she can. If she's not with someone, she's with someone else. And it's not so much for like the intimacy, it's just for the camaraderie, I believe, because she can't be alone. We've been best friends for 17 years, so I can tell her straight up how I feel. And I told her, I just feel like you can't be alone. And I told her that twice. And then last year she sat me down and had a talk and was like, I hate it when you say that to me. It hurts every single time you say that to me. And I'm like, okay, I'll stop saying it, but it doesn't change the way I feel.
Yeah.
I do 100% believe that you cannot be alone. And that's okay. I'm not knocking on it.
Yeah.
I probably can't be alone either. I've been with the same man for 10 years. If he ever left, I'd be like, God can't talk back to me right now, and if he does, then I'm probably dying. So but I refer to God all the time as free therapy.
It is
free therapy,
absolutely.
100%, because even though he doesn't talk back like a therapist would, you still get it out. You still get it off your chest. You still get it out into the universe, and it's not bottled up like you said.
Talk to God, and then what I do is I do both. I talk to God, and then I talk to my friends if I need like immediate like answers and immediate like wall bouncing. Shannon's great at that. I love her. I'm like, hey, so my brain is telling me this, and she's like, well, why is your brain telling you that? I was like, well, I feel this way, and she's like, well, what makes you feel this way? And it all like at the end I feel better,
right,
95% of the time, because it helps me process.
Yeah.
But talking to God also is just like, it's very, like you said, grounding.
Right.
And it helps.
It's kind of funny that technique works for you, because
the wall bouncing.
No, yeah. When it's like, well, why do you think that way? Why do you do that? That drives me up the wall.
So that's the other 5% of the time. That's the other 5% of the time. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then she's like, okay, we'll come back to it in an hour. I'm like, okay.
I can't do it at all. It's not a come back to it. It's like that to me just feels like someone's trying to get into my brain, and it just feels like invasive, and it feels like I want to handle myself before someone else handles me.
That's the thing, though. I go to her and I ask her to wall bounce. For me. It's not just she does it all the time. You gotta find what works for you.
Yeah.
Does not work for me.
Yeah, to each their own. It's just like spiritual walks. Not every person is the same.
But that's good, though. It's good finding out therapeutic techniques that work. Definitely, first and foremost, I recommend that too. Talk to God, and you just have no idea just how much that can help in and of itself. Just talking to God, or even talking to a God through a journal. You could be writing it down.
I was about to say that if you can't verbally say it, write it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, write it down or type it, whatever. Tap it into your phone. trying to be modern here, but
tap it into your
whatever
phone.
It is. Hey, people take notes on their phones now. Not everyone writes in a notebook anymore. I'm old school, but and after that, just learning how to communicate is so important.
In
Because
every relationship.
in every relationship.
Every relationship with God, relationship with friends, relationships with significant others, communication.
I'm in the perfect
everything.
part of my life where I'm finally learning how to communicate with others in like romantic relationships and with people that I just talk to on a normal basis. I hate confrontation.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning how to go up to someone who's like, hey, so this doesn't feel right.
Right.
How can we change that
And I bet
together?
you feel so much better after.
Oh my God, it helps so much, especially at work. I was like, I am going to dread going to work. And then I had the conversation with him and he's so much better. I can go to work and just focus on my job. And we still have conversations, mainly about work, but.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, it's important. It's important.
Yeah, I learned so much from my marriage about communication, of what we did wrong in terms of communicating, and we both learned so much because one, we both went to therapy after we were divorced. We both went and got therapy, and that taught us a lot.
Well, it's a traumatizing event.
Well, yeah, and I mean even before the divorce, like we realized, wow, we just do not communicate at all. Like we're speaking completely different languages, and once we realized that, and then even just through therapy, now we're able to talk to each other. We're friends now, and it's like it's great because we can talk about that time and be like, man, we didn't know anything. It's like we should have really started, like, honestly gone and gotten couples counseling or even just counseling by ourselves before we'd even got married, because that probably would have solved so many issues before they'd ever started. So communication is huge. I recommend therapy to everyone. It's really cool now, and this is like a whole plug now, but it's really cool now because there's all these ways to get access to a therapist if you can't afford to go to one physically, or you don't have the time to go to one physically, because now they have these two different services that, at least that I found, there's two, there's probably more. There's either Talkspace, or there's one called BetterHelp.
Or there's also one called God.
And that one's free.
God is always free.
Yeah, and BetterHelp and Talkspace, they connect you with a professional counselor, a human, not a god.
Yes.
And you can text them, you can call them, depending on the plan that you sign up for. It's pretty cool.
Right. And in this day and age, a lot of people communicate better through text.
Right. Yeah. Because so many people are just used to that now.
Right.
So I definitely always recommend that to everyone. But yeah, first and foremost, I would recommend talking to God and starting there.
Yes, we're not negating therapy here.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no, please, if you feel the need to have somebody to talk back to you, please go to therapy for sure. Or, because that's ultimately what I want to do. I want to be a Christian counselor. I want to have my own office, and I want to counsel people with Christ as the core. But ultimately, I want to be a counselor, which is helping people.
Right.
So most churches have one on site, and they're even just your pastors. Your pastors have to take psychology courses, have to take empathy courses, have to take everything in order to be basically vessels for God. That's what pastors are. They are vessels for God. So if you don't have the money, you don't have anything, you just feel the need that you need to get something off your chest and you do need somebody to talk back to you, find a pastor. Straight up, find a pastor, because they'll text you too if that's the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
So one of the things I love about VCF is this is the first church that I've actually found that I can actually go and talk to a pastor, because you guys are so human.
Yeah.
And there's 60 of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they're on another level.
Right.
And it's truly the first church that I've ever felt that I was actually a part of, and that people cared. And I am personally I'm like, I don't want to leave this church ever. Like, these are my people.
No, don't ever leave us.
Yeah, don't be like me.
Having you. Yeah, you. You over there.
There's a possibility I may be moving in a year and a half. There's a possibility I may be moving in a year and a half.
Well, we'll cross that bridge.
Yeah,
it's a year and a half, so you got time.
Everything has to play in order for that to happen.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, that's all I had.
We
talked about pictures and communication. Maybe that's what I'll call this one.
We're all about to hear my dog walk in.
Yep. Here comes the big boy himself. You can probably hear that on the mics too.
He's just hitting everything with his tail.
It's right.
You're so cute. I found my favorite animal that you have.
Well, Mac, we're glad you are here. You could join us for this podcast.
I should have shut the door.
It's all good.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. Well, Sam, thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, anytime in the future. Yep.
Jinx.
Kendra just doesn't want me to talk anymore.
No,
So
that's not what I said.
anytime you want to come on, or anytime really anybody in the church wants to come on, if you were listening, or
We
if you,
can zoom you in.
yeah,
if
we
you
can
do
zoom
not
you
feel
in.
Comfortable
So even if
meeting
you
in
don't live
person.
here, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
even if you don't live here, that person in Austria, whoever you are, if you want to be a part of this, hit us up.
We welcome you.
Twitter, BLV podcast.
Twitter, Facebook, any of the social channels. Yep, we'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
But we will see you all next week.
Yep. Prayers and love, everybody.